If I gave you 3 options for blowing up your sleeping pad after a long day of hiking, which would you choose? Using your mouth to blow up your pad, a pump sack, or the all-new Flextail Gear Zero Pump? Now my choice is to go for convenience, and that would be the Zero Pump. But why? Why is this little gadget worth having with you in your backpack? And why is it better than the other 2 options? I think we can all agree that one of the least enjoyable camp chores at the end of a long day of hiking is blowing up a sleeping pad with our mouths. Totally not fun, especially at elevation. Then you also have to consider the introduction of mold growth into your pad potentially by introducing your warm, moist air into the pad. So that's where a pump sack comes into play. Well, pump sacks are great, but sometimes they are super finicky. They're not super efficient, and they can be quite heavy, and they are single use. And that's where I really like having a device like an electric pump to be able to blow up my sleeping pad and just make that camp chore super easy for myself. So now what's interesting is the Vortex pump sack from Nemo and the Flextail Gear Zero Pump with the included attachment and the battery are the exact same weight at just over 2 ounces. So now that we've established the convenience of using an electric pump, I want to talk about my experience with the Zero Pump from Flextail. Now this is a brand new gadget, brand new device on the market. I have had this out on several backpacking trips. I've been camping with it. I've been putting it through the paces to see any fail points, to see any issues with it, and to just collect as much data, and especially compare it to the super popular Tiny Pump X2. So why would you choose one or the other? Because when you look at the X2, this is multi-use. This is a pump, it will deflate, and it also is a lantern. So you've got a light on the top, which makes it multi-use. Now obviously the Tiny Pump X2 is going to be heavier weight, and there's some issues with this in the sense that the attachments for blowing up things as you are out in the backcountry are not specific to your sleeping pad. They are universal, they are just generic and can be used to blow up many different kinds of things. The Zero Pump, on the other hand, is designed specifically to go with sleeping pads. You've got 6 different attachments that are made very specifically for different brands of pads. Nemo, Big Agnes, Climate, Xped, you name it, these attachments are going to go onto those pad valves. And what I love about that is the fact that when I slide this on here, I can then drop that onto the valve, turn it on, and then walk away from the pad. I can just let this do its thing.
Turn it on, I'll set it, and forget it.
And then come back to it, and it's going to have my pad inflated, as opposed to blowing up the pad with my pump sack and my back hurting and just being like in uncomfortable positions inside of my tent. I hate that aspect about using a pump sack, or even having to hold the X2 Tiny Pump onto the valve because it doesn't attach directly to the valve. Now I mentioned earlier that I have been doing as much testing as possible with the Zero Pump to see if there are any kinds of fail points with this pump being a brand new product on the market. And I think that is so important, as opposed to just opening the product up and talking about it out of the box. Like, how is this actually going to perform, and is it worth your money? And I have pumped up at least 80 to 100 sleeping pads in my house, but also out in the field on camping trips and backpacking trips. And I have turned on the device and just let it run for like 10, 12 minutes at a time to see if there's going to be any kind of issues with it. And I've only had one problem with the pump, and it has to do with the fact that when I have put this on to a pad and I turn it on, within a short amount of time, it just turns off by itself. The battery that is used is a CR123A rechargeable battery. This is a very easy to find battery, and this particular one has a USB-C charging port on it. It's a 700 milliamp powered battery, and output of 3.7 volts. It's kind of the minimum power requirement to run the zero pump, and it's nice because it makes it so that you can use existing batteries that you've already got, but know that you do not have a charging port on the zero pump itself, and it needs to be on the battery, whether a wall charger, on a flashlight, a headlamp, or one of these batteries that has a USB-C port on it to recharge the battery. This will absolutely last for a weekend trip, for a 4 or 5 day trip, and if you are blowing up your sleeping pad 4, 5, 6 times over a trip, that is going to be sufficient for the battery to last long enough so that you don't have to even really worry about recharging it. So after a lot of testing, do I recommend it? Do I think it is a good option and a replacement for a pump sack or using your lungs to blow up a sleeping pad? I absolutely think so. This is super convenient. It's very small, it's very lightweight. At 1.2 ounces without the battery or attachments, over 2 ounces with all of the stuff that you need to basically run the device. But this is fantastic. I think that Flextail putting the work into creating a pump that is specific to sleeping pad valves and to be very lightweight, very small, is a huge win in the backpacking gadget world. So I've got a link down in the description for you to check out the Flextail Zero Pump and to get one for yourself. I also want to thank Flextail for sponsoring this video. All of the information that I have shared with you today is my own experience, my own opinions, my own thoughts. They did not have any say in what I shared with you. Thanks for watching today, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe. Hope you have an awesome day. Catch you in the next one. See you later.